Can you see my? Oh, okay. It hopefully it's starting to share the screen. The VS
Yep.
Code.
Yeah, I see your screen.
Okay. If anything goes south, please tell me. So and I'll put somebody if I can get to chat. I'll put the links to. This is a very much a work in progress. Crate. It's not on the Crates.io repository yet. And oh wow! Oh, give me a moment. Right. This is what happens when programmers. Yes, programmers cannot use computers. Indeed. That's why we have languages with types and restrictions and lifetime and checker. The main purpose of the crate is it's called Camigo as cache friendly, and the main purpose is the font and size okay, or should I increase it for anyone? By the way, maybe a little bit.
I can read it. I don't know if it's okay for everybody.
Okay, and I'll close. I'll close the files. You can see the topics in the links I posted too, but you feel free to ask and stop me navigate through. I'll just close some files and I'll describe to you as that may be faster, and then we can get back to it so that I don't have so many files open. I hope it to be cache friendly as to eliminate hopping around references when comparing and ordering data. So as you know, as you may know, Rust has in the core or in STD. But if you don't have STD like on a little embedded systems, then you have core, which is a subset of STD. You have those classes, not classes, traits like CMP. Well, this is actually an enum. Ordering is an enum, but you have. Let's see it on the right. Oh. Where is that? Oh, that's partial. That's my partial EQ. Somewhere I have the imports of. Okay, so no, that's still my type. Anyway, there's EQ as equality trait and CMP an ORT for ordering, and partial EQ and partial ORT. But those don't differentiate between the parts of the that are local to the object or instance and remote. And I guess it may be costly, and I hope it could be maybe streamlined. For example, if you're comparing a string, then by default it compares it alphabetically or lexicographically, which means if you have AAXY and AABB, it compares the prefix first, and then it only then it figures out how to order them. But and with this, you could compare some properties that are local first, and then only then, if those are equal, go on comparing the rest of properties or fields of the objects or methods. So there's a trait, a partial EQ, where you have EQ, well, you have functions EQ local and EQ non-local, and altogether they form EQ full, which has a default implementation, and that should be then semantically it should be the same as EQ in a standard or core library. And similarly for ordering, there's CMP local and CMP non-local and CMP full. Oh, where's CMP non-local? Oh, there it is, right. And they have the same signatures, I mean, the same return types and the same parameters, self and the other rigid self. Now, any new traits, they don't implement themselves, so that would be quite a lot of work. And for that, there are macros, which are very much work in progress and still quite ugly. And I have a binary search implemented with tests, which I can show you, but and I have benchmarks that I started on, but I haven't done benchmarking yet. So does anyone have any preferences what to see?
I just had a question. When you're doing your benchmark, you using Criterion for that, or what do you think?
Sorry?
Are you using Criterion for your benchmarking? Or?
Yes, for benchmarking I do, but
Okay.
it's very early. I would be very grateful for any tips on benchmarking, especially generating random data of some non-primitive types like random strings, and say maybe if you know of any random source of, oh, give me strings that are mostly ASCII or that are printable on Linux and not, on some exotic island in a font that almost still doesn't exist yet. That would be very helpful. So I have something to test with. The testing that I've done, that has been quite a failure here. So contrary to articles that I read, I went my way, of course, to do some randomness based on the pointer. So hoping that Linux address, what is it called? Randomness, the address space random layout would kick in, and it would be, giving pointers at random addresses every different new addresses at every run. But it doesn't do so much. So what I do here, I give it some recently allocated pointer just to get the number, and then next steps I go so on but it's been quite unproductive. So I'll just use fast render, some crate. But if anyone knows how to generate strings, maybe from random bytes, and how to eliminate, the non-UTF-8, even that could help.
I think John Jensen has a video where he showed how to do his fuzz testing, and in that video he had to generate semi-random strings. So I guess if you remove out the semi part, maybe you get full random strings. So I can try to find that video for you, but I don't remember it offhand.
Yeah, I know there's like a few fuzzing libraries or fuzz testing libraries for us. I might want to look into one of those. I don't remember any of them off the top of my head. I've used like one of them once, but
yes, there is some. Go ahead.
For generating random strings, we can use rand.
yeah, you could use the rand crate as well. Just kind of manually do it.
Yeah, there are two. There's a random string, and there's one more. And at least one of those two is maintained or has been recently maintained. So I'll have a look. Random string and random str. And has anyone worked with AFL, some kind of fuzzing?
American Fuzzy Law.
Is that any good?
I've heard of it. I haven't actually worked with it myself, so I can't tell you if it's any good or not.
Okay, now let me show you maybe something more entertaining. Let's pretend that we can use those types for sorting. Oh, but I could show you the tests. Is it in the link? Or if I remember where I have them. No, but the test would be boring. It's just showing that it's not sorting alphabetically first, but first by length, and then by alphabet within those buckets of the same length. But somewhere here I have a party, a test. What happens is that you have a party on the right, and so you have some food and amount of it, and that's just that, right? The food is a string, but amount is U16 in this instance. And then this is a simple composition. You have a food list, struct of foods, and then table, which is 2 parts. How do you pronounce it? Tuple or tuple?
I pronounce it tuple, but I think I've heard people call it tuple as well. I don't know if there's a correct or like canonical pronunciation for it.
Thank you. And then you have a room with 2 tables. So 2 tables, 2 food for each table. That's we have 4, and then right, and food list. And now there are these macros by examples that where you let's ignore it, or this locality indicates whether there are both local and referenced fields. So here it's both, because it's because amounts are local and the names of foods are references. And then comes local and non-local. Oh, sorry for this analyzer. Comparisons, and those can be in various formats, like for only for this work in progress, that any fields and chains down can have to start with a dot, or you can pass a closure that returns the field that you are comparing. But here's a limitation, that field that is returned here from that closure cannot use a lifetime, because there's no way to specify a lifetime in closure that I could find. So for that, I would you can use a function that's defined separately.
You might be able to use HRTB to define a lifetime in a closure. I think that's possible, and only for lifetimes, but I'm not sure.
Because I
can't
didn't
really hear you, Jonathan. What you say now about the closures and lifetimes? I can't hear.
There's a sorry, I should speak up. Yeah, there's a feature called higher rank trait bounds, or short form is HRTB, and it's usually used to assign lifetimes to references that are like introduced in closures. So typically we can't introduce any kind of generics in a closure, but they made a special exception for lifetimes, and that's what HRTB is. That might be what you need here, not 100%, but yeah, it's one of the more advanced features of Rust, so you don't see it all that often.
Thank you. Oh, look, I believe this is. I just changed the screen. I will get back. I believe this is the higher ranked whatever it's called, the bounds with this 4. And that's just a manual implementation for slices in general. At least that's what I remembered. I somehow applied that. It came from higher rank trade bounds article. And without this 4 here, it wouldn't compile, and it was giving me quite hard time.
This just looks like a regular pull, actually, but
Oh,
With the higher rank trait counts is when you define like your argument list for your closure. So like you have your arguments inside of the pipes, and then you put the 4 before your type, right? And that has the lifetime attached.
oh, hold on. Oh, it has a cousin called in strings. It may be there then. Let's see what it was. That's not for us. No, not for STR. Okay. So it wasn't there. I don't know how it happened. That's what the food does to you at the party. I'm sorry. And anyway, we can get back to the party because you can see actually some of some use of the macro here as well. So this defines it for the existing type string and compares locality is both. The first is length and the second is full comparison. However, this doesn't currently compile. This is not in Git yet, and the hygiene rules of macros can be quite painful for this purpose. So that will take some work. And the other type of what is it called? A closure here is when you take two parameters and it returns a Boolean, the standard way. But to differentiate between them, the only way I found is that some have a curly bracket and some have an oval bracket. So if anyone has any tips on how to make this more readable, ergonomic, please do tell me.
Are you using declarative macros for all this?
Yes, because it's so far it's very work in progress.
Okay. Yeah, because I know you can get a lot more flexibility out of procedural macros. So
Yeah.
maybe that would help. Because then you could define your own like custom syntax and stuff. I've seen people make like JSX and Rust using procedural macros. So if you want to do something more complicated and ergonomic, you might need to reach for the unhygienic macros.
Yes. Anyone more interested in macros, or should we skip? Enough of macros? Well, I can show you the macros, actually the source of them. Just, but it is quite. It's the reason I have so much commented code is because it's very fragile and pretty much every time you change a line or some every time I want to move to another part of the page or some next step, I double check git add or add many comments. Otherwise, it's less productive than helpful. Yes, as Jonathan mentioned, it may turn into a procedural macro. If I go back to you really don't want to see all this, but this is so much hacky because here I'm basically injecting the code that the user passed to macro, and that is very common in C, but it's against the hygiene in Rust. So, for example, if I cannot receive this as an expression, because the expression would get the scope attached from the user land, where the user typed how they invoke the macro, not the implementation where the macro is putting things together. And so that it's much more limiting for this purpose. If all you need is evaluate what the user passed through, but evaluate it as it came from their context, Rust is very helpful with that, or protective. but here it is too much protective. But before I finish with macros, so the pain is that you have to write these macro calls and repeat the fields, whether you put them as the path of the fields, or whether you put a closure. And the ugly is that if later on someone adds a new field, well, not to string, but to the type, this will not pick it up automatically, and it will not complain. So it will go unnoticed, right? And then you have incorrect behavior. I probably will add a derive macro, but those are not 100% proof either, because they don't have access to types. So the derive macros, it can see if the type you specified is a reference or a slice. But if you use an alias like type equals, type my resources equals array of 5 resource, it doesn't know that it's an array. And actually for arrays, those are local. But if it was a smart vector behind an alias, it doesn't know. So it will need some hinting anyway. But I think that is too boring. So what else you may want to see is maybe some conditional compilation based on features for no STD, and based on attributes, like if you want unsafe coding or don't want unsafe code. Is anyone interested in that or not really? So what happens is in Cargo Tomo, you define features that are that it specify how some of your the library's functionality is present or is not, and then through conditional compilation, you can enable or disable parts of the code, whether in library or binary. And a quick example is in the lib. There is, well, you can see some. Hold on, can you? So very, this deref pure trade is one of the features, and that I've defined. And what it does, if it is enabled, then this code uses deref pure trade from Rust, which means that it needs to use nightly Rust. Here. All right, so it's unsafe and it's on. Oh, that may be stable now. I may have to double check that. Oh, to do check if unstable. And sorry for typos, but so let's say in slice there is a binary search that I hope to be a little faster than the standard search using those traits, and you don't want to be bored with how it works. But there may be some conditional compilation that I put here. For example, here, if you specify unsafe from Rust source, which is on left, is here, the very last feature on the left, well, before default, then what it does on the right is, if that is enabled, then here it calls this unsafe self get unchecked for the middle element in the range that is being searched for. And but if you don't want any unsafe code, then you don't enable that feature, and the second part is true, and it just used the standard access, to get the reference to the item with the safe checks. safe bound checks. And if you are really worried, then this unsafe code actually comes from Rust. What is it called? Rust source, and I put a link where it comes from, so it can be audited or searched for. But if your life is too short, then disable unsafe, and you are happy, and it's pretty much faster anyway. There is that, and maybe if you are interested in developing for very tiny devices that don't have any OS and don't have even any allocation or have limited allocation, then you may want to use no STD here at the top of lib.rs. So that again, what it does. Let me move that to right. If you have, unless you enable STD feature, it defines the whole library as no STD compatible. And then there is no alloc either. You can have no STD and alloc on some subset of some devices or targets. And so that's why this external crate exists. And what alloc is, alloc provides box, smart pointers, anything with allocation. And also string, for example, the string that I implemented those two traits for, I refer to it as alloc string. But no, where is that? What happened to my string? Oh. All right, that's for str, the slice, but that's a primitive type. But and hold on, maybe. Oh, okay. So I need to move that. I'm sorry. In slice.rs or slice impulse. Oh, and here are some types that I will, tests I was searching for. But it's slice impulse. And I admit these naming conventions are bad. I need to really work on that. But here's the alloc string. So this is what you normally know as STD string or just string, because it's normally available. It's in the standard prelude.
Yeah.
But if you are developing for some tiny, microchips or whatever smartwatch or even for WASM, because WASM doesn't have STD, I believe, or it may have only a subset of STD. You may want to use. You will have to use this instead of STD string, and it's type alias, so it's exactly the same. The code is compatible. If it compiles if your library compiles for no STD, then it's WASM 100% WASM guaranteed, and it's pure Rust guaranteed. I mean, it's STD compatible too. Anything else? Anyone would like to comment, give feedback, see?
Which feature was on Nightly that you were looking for?
The random data generation and benchmarking. And I'm curious if anyone knows about dealing with cache and benchmarking.
You're talking about a Nightly feature? Like you had like a Nightly feature flag?
Oh.
What was that?
Oh, Nightly. Let me see. Hold on, I'll close this one at the bottom. Yes, so let's see I don't think it's used in lib.rs at all. But it will be in slice, because that's where it's definitely used in binary search. This is just the source reference, but let's see more. Oh, so it may not be used much. I may have left it there from the past. I don't remember, but I'll have to double check. Some of the features here may need nightly. I don't remember now. And at the moment it won't compile. It doesn't matter which, because I have it. I have it in a mess state. That does, but I think tests fail because the macros are upset at the moment. They are very easy to upset. But let me double check. I have made a backup. And right, so if I go there, if we clean up the changes, and now let's change to Rust tab is even if your distribution or system does have a package for Rust out of the box, if you want to change between the Rust versions, you want to install it with Rust tab or through Rust tab. And then you can have various, maybe Rust tab toolchain list, is it? You can install various versions and various targets, and you can do cross compilation. So, and then with, so what I will change to stable. All right, and if I don't know what my terminal or bash helper here is, I think it may be starfish or something with a star in the name. But anyway, it shows you what your current toolchain is. So if I change to stable, now it shows me the stable version. And let's see. Very occasionally, you need to do cargo clean. I don't think I needed to do it in this instance, but let's do it. I did it just to be safe. And now let's see if it compiles on stable. If not, then it means that some features need nightly. But actually, not exactly, because I didn't enable them. So I made to enable as for default. Enable them. And right, and I have features here ready for fast rent crate to be used as an optional dependency. Talking of which, this really should go just to dev dependencies, and then I don't need to have a feature for it, because that's just for testing. But I'm not sure if but we can try to add all these features to default, and let's see if it will still compile. Oh, sorry. And right, faster we don't have. We have hit assert and the direct trait. Any feedback, please, while we're waiting. And let's see what this said. This said it was happy, right? But there were no extra. What is it called? No extra features. And now you see that it's unhappy. Oh, that's because I messed up something. Oh, right.
Just unsafe is rough in two places.
Yes, yeah, it was. I did some mistakes here on the keyboard. And deref pure Hold on. Deref pure, what is it called? Sorry, Deref pure trade. So let's see if this compiles. Right, so now it's unhappy about something, and I'm pretty sure it will be right. So this one needs nightly, and therefore what I'll need to do here, I need to add nightly. And but that will not automatically use nightly. So that feature on its own, I don't think I use it anywhere else. You see, if we compile now, it will get the exact same error, and no other explanation. So
No, you got nightly. The quotes are on your nightly right there. See the ref pure trait, unsafe nightly.
I know, but what we can do is we can make it fail somehow. Oh, maybe not here. Maybe after this. CFG. Oh, I don't know how to do top of my head, but we could have some CFG here, conditional compilation that if a feature equals nightly and the toolchain is not nightly, then fail somehow. But I'm not sure how. It could even be, this just not supported here. Maybe, but no, that doesn't work. So let some kind of statement that doesn't upset the lexer, or what is it, and that fails. Oh, maybe panic could do. And if anyone knows has a better explanation, please tell me. I mean, a better suggestion, please tell me. But here it would need, something with architecture check in it. Oh, there is a crate for it, of course. I think it's called. There's something by David Tolnai, Rust version, or some kind of crate where you can do these checks.
Static assert or
Yeah, not even if it's. Yeah, where you can do conditional compilation based on the version of Rust you want. Or yeah, it's a crate of macros.
I don't know it off the top of my head.
Yeah, I don't remember. But right, so this would need to some work here. Anything else that anyone is interested in? Any better ways, or why this is failure to happen? Thank you.
All right. There you go, everyone. Yeah, I want to give a big shout out to Peter here as well, just for coming out here and doing this talk very last minute. I think he kind of threw this together very quickly, and there were a bunch of other people who wanted to talk, but then they kind of balked when it came to scheduling. They never got back to me, so yeah, kudos to him for actually coming out here and stepping up and doing this.
Oh, may I show a little feature that may help you, especially if you're working with macros? What happens is, say your macro compiles because there's nothing for the compiler to complain, But then when you in your tests or benchmarks, or not benchmarks most likely, but tests or examples, you're trying to use the macro and then it fails. And that's still, legitimate. I mean, I forgot how to use my own macro. I didn't get it right, so it fails. But then what happens is, if you don't use that macro anywhere else, suddenly the compiler spits many errors to you. Of course, why am I being fed this macro being used this bad? But in addition to that, the compiler says, oh, this macro is not used at all now, right? Because or what something else that you use in the macro actually. Maybe use some types, or you have some type aliases or variables that, not variables, but types, traits that you only use in those macros. Suddenly they're not used anymore anywhere else. So now the compiler adds a list of warnings. Oh, this is unused, unused, unused. And it's not helping if you have quite a long list of errors and warnings, because you know about those warnings, but you don't want to deal with them, right? Because it's only because the macro invocation is failing at the moment. So what you can do is you can temporarily set this lints.rust to set warnings equals allow, as this was specifically to allow unused variables. So anything that the compiler would warn that by default, if it is a warning but not an error, it will allow and it will be quiet until you comment it out or remove. And this way you can get through errors fast, because there's no other easy way. There's some way to pass the Rust C flags or Rust flags something. Rust, I don't remember. Set it and to something like allow or allow all, and then do your cargo check also. But what this does, that rebuilds everything. And if you have many dependencies, that takes long, like you saw. And the other way is somewhere at the top of your librc, you can do allow unused and maybe warnings, I believe it is. But then you have it in the code, and well, either way, you need to comment it in and out. But this warning, this doesn't apply to tests. So you would still have a trouble with tests, while setting it in cargo terminal applies to your whole project. Everything goes quiet for a while. Then you want the warnings back, you have them. So you are more in control. Back to you, Jonathan.
I think you actually have a question from
Another approach actually is to use Beacon. It's a tool for looking at the errors, and it will actually sort them by errors first, then warnings.
Bacon.
Yeah, Cargo Beacon. Cargo
Wow.
Beacon I can get the link, but it's Beacon. That's the actual executable. And then once you run Beacon, it will sort it by errors first, and then warnings after.
Wow, let's install that.
I think it's just Beacon. So Cargo install Beacon. No, I don't think it has Cargo in front of it. I remember correctly.
Oh, you think it is?
I think it's just Beacon. I don't think it has a Cargo in front of it. So Cargo install just Beacon. Yeah, I think so. Yeah, that's it. Okay, yeah.
Wow, very good. Thank you.
Yeah, no problem. You can also run your tests in addition to just compiling. So you can tell it to do cargo check or cargo test, and you can configure it to do what you want.
What is Bacon exactly?
It's like Cargo Watch, except that it will run as a program and sort the feedback. So you get all the errors first, and then you get the warnings.
Oh, okay.
Mm-hmm.
Faster for compilation in response to the question that was just asked in chat. Forget the question. Does anyone have a way to make Rust faster?
Sorry, what's does anyone? Oh, run faster. You meaning compiling faster?
I don't know. Yeah.
Most likely. there's no easy solution. For server continuous integration, there is some SC cache, but I hear that it has defects. So every now and often it will fail.
I use it in CI and I've never had problems with it. But another thing that can help is changing out your linker, because that's one of the parts that takes the longest in compilation. So if you switch out the linker, that can help. If you look at the Bevy crate, they have a tutorial that tells you how to go about switching out the linker for compiling, because otherwise Bevy takes long to mold.
Oh.
You put gold. Did you mean gold? I'm not familiar with that one.
Okay, I don't remember. Okay, maybe.
MOL. You were almost right. Just one letter.
That is I believe for Mac it has a different. There's another linker that may be good, but. And maybe not enabling dependencies or features on dependencies that you don't need. If you don't need SERD, don't enable it because it takes long to compile, because it's a big procedural macro, like the one I just started to install. It uses SERD.
Yeah, there's other advice that I've seen, like avoid generics, for example, and use dynamic dispatch more, avoid macros, anything that would cause the compiler to have to do more work. Avoid downloading like small dependencies, like small crates that just pull in like one like tiny little feature. Like I've seen some of the more, I guess, popular or more well-known Rust contributors like Burnt Sushi, for example, might like roll their own implementations of stuff sometimes just to avoid adding more dependencies. And also, I think I heard recently that Crane Lift recently got a 1.0 release or something like that. It's like another backend for Rust. So if you want to compile Rust a bit faster and maybe not get as optimized of a result, then you might want to look into the Crane Lift backend. But yeah, I haven't actually tried it myself. I've just heard that it's supposedly a lot faster, but your mileage may vary. That's for recompile? Okay, I don't know. Anything else?
Well, I did have one question for Peter, if that's all right.
Yeah, go ahead.
Yeah, so thought it interesting that you have an unsafe feature for your crate. It seems like what's the? Because normally I'd assume that if you have you think you want to do unsafe, you try and test it and validate it through Miri, and you just have unsafe code underneath the hood. But it seems like you're putting that choice up to the user, which I haven't seen that done anywhere before.
Well, I hope it will prevent big disagreements or. And I haven't used Miri much. Well, at least when I used it, it was quite slow, but also. At least in this instance, it's feasible with no unsafe code. So why not have the user choose?
Okay.
Because I did copy most of the unsafe code there is copied from Rust, but then in that binary search function, once the range gets too small, what happens is then it will check if the both ends of the range fit are not many times longer than the cache line, and if the data type is smaller than half of the cache line, what it does is it looks at the next item or several next items, whatever the number of them is that would fit in cache line. It can it's a compile time code that I don't think I have that in place. I just have some placeholders, but it can calculate that based on the size of, which is constant function. But then that information can short circuit the binary search a little bit. But then I'm adding some more logic that calls the unsafe code. So there may be a mistake that I don't know of, and there has been unsafe code in Rust, 4 lines, I believe, or not many more than 4 or 3 lines. It has been there for years, and it turned in core Rust, and it turned out that it was incorrect because someone wanted to exercise his ego. So I'm not gonna do that. And if the user wants to be very safe, they can have it. It's safe.
Okay, thank you.
You got one other question. Because Rakesh's question, Peter, which terminal are you using?
Oh, it's an ordinary terminal in Genome on Manjaro Linux, but and I don't remember what the prompt is. I think it's from Starfish. I can look it up. What was it, ugly or were the colors off?
I thought the colors are fine. I don't know. That's just me though. Anything else? Like Starship.
Yes, Starship. I'm not sharing my screen right now, so if I can share it for a moment.
I think we should probably mention the Discord in case some people are not aware.
Okay, you can plug the Discord.
Oh, sure. I'll just put it in the chat.
Oh,
Yeah.
Okay. So it is Starship. From memory on the Manjaro and most likely on Arch Linux, it comes out through, what are they called? The Arch repository. Oh, sorry for that. I'll just check if how I installed it. If I do have it installed through Arch, and I'm certain I did no customization at all. I just put this in my .bash rc. What is it called? File in the home of directory. You see, .bash rc. So all I added is oh, sorry for that. This eval starship init bash, and it does this magic. And the first thing I believe is nps version that I have on my system. NP doesn't even know how to find out npm version. No, so that's not. But there's a note. You see, yeah, right, because that I believe that is JS icon. So somehow it knows, right. So it tells you what the chances are you may get you may add more data here. What you want to see, but somehow the Starship just knows that my current toolchain is that version, and if I change to nightly, it will be nightly. And if you go to directory where you have anything from Git, it shows you if there are any changes. And if you add, then it shows you that there are pending changes and so on. So Starship it is. And let me see if I installed it from Manjaro. I don't remember. Yes, I did. So it's and it's even an extra repository. So it's not AUR, it's not community, but it's quite an official or not official, main official, but it's one of the official repositories. So it's pretty stable.
All right. Any other questions or comments? Feedback? See that Chester has posted the Discord link, so if anyone isn't aware, we do have a Discord. I don't think it's like super active, but we do occasionally get questions there, and there's some discussion from time to time. I like to post announcements and stuff there as well, because Meetup is not exactly the greatest platform, and sometimes it just swallows my announcements up. So, yeah, if you want to check us out, yeah, the link's been posted. I think it's also somewhere on our Meetup page. I think it may be on the main page. I don't remember, but yeah, if you want the link, you can always just ping me or Chester. We can send it to you.
And rat hash, yes, I'm pretty sure it is starship.rs. So it sounds like it's written in Rust.
All right. Well, I don't have any announcements. Once again, massive thank you to Peter for doing this talk today. And yeah, I guess I'll just stop the recording, and we can just call it here. And if people who are here in person want to just hang around and chat or whatever, then feel free to do so. But yeah, I think this is where I'm just going to close off the online room. If you want to stick around the online room, you can do that as well. But